Montanas are probably the most recognisable clematis in the country. They can often be seen from a distance, growing up house walls, through trees, and even up telegraph poles. They have masses and masses of small flowers, often fragrant, and they come in a range of colours from white, cream, light and dark pink. Wonderful. The word Montana means of the mountain, and they come from China, Nepal, Burma and parts of India. They were first introduced to the UK in 1805. They're certainly unfussy plants, and given their origins, are winter hardy in the UK, although some varieties don't deal well with late frosts. So planting away from exposed areas or windy sites is advisable. Montanas are virtually disease-free, so caring for them is easy. Montanas come into flower April, May, June, depending on the variety, what part of the country you live in, what sort of spring we've had, and also where in the garden you plant it. This Grandiflora is the same plant as we saw at the beginning of the video, but that one is planted in the front, which is basically south facing. This is more north facing. The one in the front was fully out. This one is just coming to be fully out. There's about a fortnight's difference. Montanas are not long flowerers. 3.5 weeks the flower will be out, but the intensity when they're in flower is quite remarkable. As you can see, this Grandiflora produces a lot of growth even while it's in flower, which is fine, but as soon as the flower fades, all I'll be left with are these long growths, and these will produce the flowers for next year. Because they flower so early in the year, you don't prune these before they flower, otherwise you lose all these lovely buds. But you can trim it after it's flowered to make sure that it doesn't occupy any more space than you want it to. These also make good cuttings if you want to try and increase your stock. All I do is to go back to a leaf joint and just trim them. It takes a while, and I need to make sure I don't fall in the pond in the process, and then I go around and do my neighbour's side as well. But that's to ensure that this is as compact as it is now, producing this beautiful wall of white flower next year. Today there are several varieties of Montana which are commonly available at garden centres. Buy a plant though which is mature enough to fill a 2 or 3 litre pot. This is a 3 litre pot, and check that the roots fill it. See, that's well rooted, and there are about 7 stems here, so it's a very good clematis. I suggest if you want to get a smaller one than this, you pot it up into a larger pot and grow it on for a year before you plant it out. But this one is ready for planting out now. A Montana will be happy to grow in most soils, but if your garden is particularly wet in the winter, you may need to add some sharp sand or grit, or move it to a drier part of the garden to plant it. I'm going to grow this one up the trellis here that's had some atrogenes growing, and there's a couple of late flowering clematis, so this will fill the gap. Normally you dig a hole about the same size as the depth of the pot. I tend to dig one a little deeper and add some compost to the bottom of it just to give it a good start. Right, some well rotted garden compost. A bit more. And some bone meal. Mix it in. Now, although montanas don't need to be planted any lower than the crown of the root ball in the pot, this one, for some reason, quite a lot of roots have come to the top, so we'll plant this slightly deeper just to protect those roots. I'll angle it in towards the fence and I'll leave the cane in to support it until it gets established, and the stems at the bottom will become a lot thicker and will support the plant in no time, and the cane can then be removed. Backfill around the clematis. Firm it in, but not too hard, and just for good measure, some compost on the top. Water in well. And that should thrive there. The trellis is nice and open, and this montana is not one of the most vigorous ones, so I should be able to contain it in that area. Let me show you some others. This is Marjorie. She's been here for between 6 and 7 years. I'm training her to grow along this fence. She has no more height, so she has to go along the fence. She also tries to come out this way, and I can wait till these are long enough and bend them back to grow along there, or I can just snip them off. She's not one of the more vigorous montanas, between 5 and 7 meters as opposed to 7 to 10 meters. The flowers are quite small, but in this situation where you get close to them, I think it's a really good place to plant one of these montanas, because you can appreciate the detail of the flower. A very nice addition to the garden, I must say. Maylene has been here about the same length of time as Marjorie. Slightly larger flower with a perfume. She's being trained over the colonnade, and there's lots of space for her to go down. I'll tie that up. I don't need to prune her because she's doing exactly what I want to do. She is one of the more vigorous varieties, will grow to 10 meters, but it'll take a number of years for her to do that. The stems are getting quite thick near the base, so she supports herself very ably. This is Broughton Star, growing up the rear wall of the house. I've only put support until halfway up the wall, and then it disappears, so Broughton Star has nowhere else to go. That's the way I keep this one in check, and I'll prune it down, and next year it will grow up this mesh again and stop. It's a lovely double. Well, I hope that helped you consider whether you want to grow some montanas or more montanas in your garden. They really do brighten up April, and some of them, as you see, have large amounts of flower that provide spectacular displays. Anyway, I shall see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye now.